Though originally intended as an infantry support tank, the Panzer IV formed the backbone of Germany's panzer divisions from 1943 to the war's end. The tank had the same engine and general appearance as the Panzer III, but the Panzer IV had a larger turret and gun, thicker frontal armor, and better cross-country mobility. It mounted a 75mm gun and 2 machine guns and was protected by armor ranging in thickness from 30 to 80mm. It weighed 25 tons, had a top road speed of 40 km per hour, and carried a crew of 5. The first Panzer IVs went into active service in 1939 with a short-barreled gun and were extremely successful until confronted by Soviet T-34 tanks in late 1941. To cope with this threat, the Panzer IV was given thicker armor and refitted with a long-barreled, high-velocity gun that could better penetrate the T-34's armor. The improved Panzer IV could engage the T-34 on nearly equal terms and was superior to the U.S. Sherman tank in many respects. The Panzer IV was the only tank made by Germany throughout the course of the war, from 1939 to 1945. More than 8,000 Panzer IVs were built, making it the most numerous of all German tanks. Its inexpensive, mass-produced chassis, like those of its 3 predecessors, was used as a platform for various types of anti-tank, assault, and self-propelled guns and also functioned as an armored personnel carrier.
The Panzer IV saw service in all combat theaters involving Germany and was the only German tank to remain in continuous production throughout the war. The Panzer IV was originally designed for infantry support, while the similar Panzer III was to fight armored fighting vehicles. However, as the Germans faced the formidable T-34, the Panzer IV had more development potential, with a larger turret ring to mount more powerful guns, so it swapped roles with the Panzer III, whose production wound down in 1943.
While all previous versions were primarily intended as support tanks that were to engage fortified positions in support of the panzer divisions, the Ausf.G was to receive a huge increase in firepower against armored targets. Besides its rearmament, very little in the form of other changes were introduced to its overall design compared to the previous version. The production of such vehicles began in 1942, which greatly helped the German armored divisions to more effectively fight against the well-armored enemy tanks that were being fielded on the Eastern Front and in North Africa.
The Panzer IV received various upgrades and design modifications intended to counter new threats, extending its service life. Generally, these involved increasing the armor protection or upgrading the weapons. Although during the last months of the war, with Germany's pressing need for rapid replacement of losses, design changes also included simplifications to speed up the manufacturing process. The Panzer IV was the only German tank to remain in both production and combat throughout World War II, and measured over the entire war, it comprised 30% of the Wehrmacht's total tank strength. Although in service by early 1939, in time for the occupation of Czechoslovakia, at the start of the war, the majority of German armor was made up of obsolete Panzer Is and Panzer IIs. In keeping with the wartime German design expediencies of mounting an existing anti-tank gun on a convenient chassis to give mobility, several tank destroyers and infantry support guns were built around the Panzer IV hull. Both the Jagdpanzer IV, initially armed with the 75mm L48 tank gun, and the Krupp-manufactured Sturmgeschütz IV, which was the casemate of the Sturmgeschütz III mounted on the body of the Panzer IV, proved highly effective in defense. Cheaper and faster to construct than tanks, but with the disadvantage of a very limited gun traverse, around 1,980 Jagdpanzer IVs and 1,140 Sturmgeschütz IVs were produced. Another tank destroyer, the Panzer IV L70, used the same basic 75mm L70 gun that was mounted on the Panther. Although not a direct modification of the Panzer IV, some of its components, in conjunction with parts from the Panzer III, were utilized to make one of the most widely used self-propelled artillery chassis of the war, the Geschützwagen 3 or 4. This chassis was the basis of the Hummel, of which 666 were built, and also the 88mm gun-armed Nashorn tank destroyer, with 473 manufactured. Although it continued to be a significant component of German armored formations to the end of the war, it was the most widely exported tank in German service, with around 300 sold to Finland, Romania, Spain, and Bulgaria. After the war, Syria procured Panzer IVs from France and Czechoslovakia, which saw combat in the 1967 Six-Day War.